So please talk us through as you do it so that people can, get it even more.
Okay. Just last week, the sister was doing it. I was just kind of like followed through with her, and
Yeah.
think you were helping as well. So, let me see what can get started here. No, I think I've done this. Okay, I'll just try to scale now. I just try to get the data now, which is the
good. Yes. What type of data are we getting is what will determine what you do now. Is it an Excel?
I believe it's the same one that you gave to us, which is the music.
Yeah, and it's an Excel one. So.
So this data, I think that's it. Open. Yeah, that's just opening now. So I'm using the one that says cities under the Suftnet cities data source, and I'm gonna load. Is it load?
It depends on what your intentions are. Do you need to clean this data up first? If you need to clean it up because you are not really satisfied with what you are seeing at the moment, then you click on transform data because you are going to transform it first. We only click on load if we are bringing it directly into the Power BI. So okay. It opens the Power Query editor when you click transform. It's bringing you to this side of things now, and this place is where you perform all the different operations that you need to perform. So you look at your data and you look at what you are trying to achieve with it, and just accordingly conform it to what you need.
What you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So from what I've learned so far is like, for example, the tab up here, if I want to just change the name, I just double click to change name. Like if I want to, and well, and that means if I want to change any of this, it doesn't have to be one. Like if I want to change this one, the same thing will happen. I would just double click and change the name.
Yeah.
And but the question that I'm not kind of now not know, for example, now is, so what do I want to do with this kind of data? I don't know.
Okay. Very good question. Very good question. You would always be given a business requirement. At the moment, I've not introduced us to getting business requirement. We're just playing around. We will get to the point where we actually get another data set and questions that we are trying to answer. So the question we are trying to answer then will determine, okay, do I need all of these columns that I see here for the questions I'm about to answer? Is this data in order? Is this the way I want it for the greater purpose that I want to use it for? If it is not, then we are in the right place. Okay, so let's just say at the moment we need to get rid of rows, for example, that are all nulls. So if you look at row 1 and row 2, and you look across row number 1, number 2, it just says nulls all through, which means those are not going to be useful. And unlike Excel, where you can just right click somewhere and just remove or filter off, and you can't filter off, but I prefer to just remove those 2 rows or however many rows that are all blank. Filtering is it's still there somewhere. If it's not going to serve me any purpose, then I would remove it. Okay. And so if you look at the top ribbon there, we look for remove rows. So if you keep going, yeah, where you are now, remove rows. And because we are trying to remove top rows, so we click on remove top rows, if you look down and what you need to remove was bottom rows, you click bottom rows, you know. Okay, good. So we put 2 there because it's 2 rows we are trying to get rid of. That's it. Now we are at this stage. Yeah, it's a good thing to look through and see if there is even any more that needs to go, to be honest. So I agree with you. You're scrolling down. It's just sometimes you got too many rows, too many columns to look through. And there's something I maybe will show us today about column profiling, where you can profile all the columns and see their structure, if there is any errors in them, how they really are, which ones are unique. I think we can show that today. But at the moment where we are at is that what is supposed to be your header is now what is on row 1. Row 1 is actually supposed to be at the top, not all those columns and, and V, music, album, all those ones are actually rubbish. We don't need them. But we need for row 1 to come to the top. And this is where we use first row. The first row, we say use first row as header. So let's look for, I think I can see it actually. Use first row, click on the arrow. No, keep going a bit to your right. Oh, you are there. And we choose use first row as header. You see that data is starting to take better shape.
Yeah.
It's starting to make better sense now. Okay. Then we keep looking for more trouble that the data could have. Okay. Where we've got path, those are all names of the musicians. But with the names, we got is a backslash at the beginning and at the end. That cannot be right, And these things happen because data is pulled from different sources, or maybe when they were entering it, whatever happened along the way, things happen to that data, So right now we need to look for then how those backslashes would be removed. And there's a lot of ways we can do them. But the most efficient way is to replace, we want to replace something now. We want to replace the backslash
with value.
With nothing. Yeah. So value to find, which is the backslash now, the other way around. And we say replace with nothing. So we put nothing there because we don't want anything there at all. So that gets removed, you see. And you look through your data types. Data types are all those tiny, maybe 1, 2, 3 or ABC that you see beside each of the headings. These are the things, the information that the computer is telling us. This is the way the computer is seeing your data. So if these are numbers, is the computer seeing them as numbers? If they are text, is it seeing them as text? So we look through all of that and make sure that all of our data types are correct. So look through your data now and see, are you happy with what is displayed beside each of the columns, which is what we call data type?
Sorry, where about is that?
If you come to one of the headers.
Okay.
Yeah, beside it, just exactly beside, you see ABC. The one you just click here, you see ABC there.
Yeah.
Click on the ABC. You see, this is, so these are all data types. If your data was a decimal number and it's not showing as a decimal number, you change it here. If it's a fixed decimal number like money, currency, we change it here. If you don't want decimal with it, you want only whole number, we change it here. Percentage or date time, all of this is where we do the changing, and it is really very important in all of these work. Yeah. So if you look through where you have size, it's already seeing that as number, and it's displayed that as 1, 2, 3, which is right, which is okay. Yeah. If I wanted to change that size to maybe sales, I don't want it to be called size. I want it to be seen as money. You can click on what you just clicked now. Yeah, change the name to sales. and then come back to the 1, 2, 3, the data type, and let's use fixed decimal number, see what happens. So it's displaying it properly like currency to us. So that way it is more readable in terms of reading it as money, you know. Look at our dates, all of the dates columns that we have there. I see that it's got dates and it's got times with it. The time, associated with that date. In case I don't want the time with it, I only want the date. I just need to click on that part again. That corner where you clicked, that corner, click there again and look for date, not date time, just date. Yes. And that changes it to a proper date, If, for example, come on the next date modified. If, for example, actually, I want the time, but I don't want them together. There's a way we can split, we can split a column into different parts. We say split column, which is up there, and it is also where you are at the moment. Now, but look at what's separating the two values that you are trying to separate, the date from the time. What separates the two? Is it just space, or is there something else?
It's just space.
Space. Okay, so let's go back to right click on there and look for split column. I believe it should be here as well. If it's not here, it is up here. If split column is just beside, after remove rows. After remove rows, you go. Yeah, yes, that one, split column. So we say we want to split by delimiter, the first one, because there's something that we have identified. And what is this delimiter? We don't want slash, So click on the down arrow, the under custom. Yes, that custom. You got different options that you can choose from. In our own case, we said space. So let's click on space. And it's saying, where do you want it after split at which area? Let's use each occurrence and see if that works for us. And click OK now. There we have it. So we have date separated from time. You can always, and if you look at the corner of that time, it's displaying something like a clock because it is seeing it as time. Peradventure, you don't want any column. Look for any of the columns that you think is not relevant to whatever, and let's remove it.
This
okay.
Folder. Okay.
Yeah.
To just remove. Okay.
We just remove, yes, you're right. If, for example, you want to keep one, the one you are clicking on, you actually want to keep that one. And so let's click on that one, yes? Click on that, right click now. You want to remove other columns now. Let's say remove other columns. So instead of removing all other columns, which are quite many, this is a way to quickly get that, sorted. So that's the difference between remove columns and remove other columns. Now come to your applied steps, please, and let's undo that. Let's remove the last step.
I should just click here.
Yes, please. Yeah. So we are back. We are back to business. What other transformation?
Undo doesn't work on Power BI.
No, we don't have undo, but we do our undoing on the applied steps. So it's recording everything you have done. If our data was the type that it gets, we put more in the data source. Let's say that data source is receiving fresh data, maybe every month. The beauty of Power BI is that each time we go to our data source where you where you got the data from, and we add more, we just need to come to Power BI and refresh. And every step you have done so far, just in seconds, gets updated. So with each new set of data, you don't need to do all of these steps anymore. It just applies all this because it's recorded it, you know, in its memory that this and this and this were done. So for future, any new data set that is added to the source where I'm, you know, feeding from, I just, you know, do all the work within seconds. Even if you have done all the visualizations that you need to do, you just need to keep refreshing and that's all. So the only time all of the hard work is done in Power BI is this first time. After that, there's no need to go through that process again. You know, so that's it. It automates really very quickly. I think that's one of the beauty of it, apart from the fact that the visuals are really very beautiful when they are properly done. Okay, so what else do you intend to do? Try and remember what you did with your last data. There were...
Okay, I remember that we tried to clear, for example, this part.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but just as an example, we tried to do something whereby, let's say, for example, while they're typing it, maybe they've put a space by mistake or something like that. So we tried to remove it. I don't know where we went. I can't remember what that is called as well.
Yes, it's called trimming. Trimming is when we remove spaces that are not necessary. So again, if you go to the column header, the top of it, and right click, then you keep coming down to transform. You see, one of the options is trim. That sorts that for us, you know. So any unnecessary space, whether in the beginning or in the end, or at the end of it, is removed for you, you know. What else do you intend to do? There's many things we did the last time. I think we duplicated our table as well.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's duplicate.
We just comment to duplicate. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. A quick question, and this is for everyone. What's the difference between us duplicating or referencing? Because when you right click, we see reference as well. What's the difference between those two? Please click on reference as well.
Yeah, I think the duplicates means that even if you're not working on the original one, it doesn't reflect on the other one.
Thank you.
Whereas the reference is the opposite. If you're working on one, it will be affecting the other one straight away.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, reference one, let's quickly do an example so that people will remember. Okay. So now you did a reference from 2, isn't it? From CD2. Yeah. Now, if we look at your applied steps for CD3, it just has source, isn't it? So it's telling us that whatever happens to the source, which is CD2, is going to be happening to CD3 as well. So CD3 is very dependent on CD2. Let's go to CD2 and do any change and see what happens. You know, maybe remove a couple of columns. We can always undo it. Okay, now let's come to CD3 and see if those were reflected. Are all those things you removed also removed here?
Yeah, the dates modified. Yeah.
Yes. So what you are trying to achieve with the data set will determine what you do, whether you are going to use whether you're going to refer or whether you're going to duplicate. If you want the two data sets to be completely independent of each other, just go for duplicate straight away. Okay, we can delete that CD3 now. And the last step in this one, we can undo if it's necessary to undo it. Now, with the second table, what are we trying to achieve with the second table? Who can remember from the last time what we did with the second table? What was the purpose of it? Please unmute and let's hear your answer.
I think we remove all the unused columns. the columns that are not relevant.
Yes.
We
So
clean
which column is relevant to this table now? We want to make this our musicians table. So the table for only the musicians.
Let me zoom it because I'm using my phone. So
Okay.
the number 22222 is not relevant. All those with numbers, that one. Then with the one with I'm coming. I'm trying to.
So the only one that is relevant is where you have path. King Sunny Ade and down. So only path, because we are trying to make this a musician's table, isn't it? Yeah. So if we click on, okay, let me not say. So we want to remove every other column and leave only path where you have the names. What's the quickest way to do it? Not this way that not clicking one by one. Who remembers the quickest way to remove every other column and leave the one that you want to leave?
So just click. Okay.
Continue. That don't worry. Continue. Always talking.
Yeah, so please don't.
Go ahead now, Eunice, go ahead.
Okay. Is that Ferdinand? Always talking, sorry.
Yes, Ferdinand, yeah.
Okay, I will talk. Don't worry, Ferdinand. Let me talk. Yeah, that's it. So I think we click on the control and we be clicking the columns that we don't want. Then we click on the remove columns at the top.
Okay. Do we all agree with that?
No, you didn't get a question, Eunice. She said the fastest way to do it.
To do it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I learned. We press the control down, then we click on other columns that we don't want, then we press the X. That's all I know. I don't know, maybe there's any other.
Yes, that's one part. Then that's not the fastest part that she's talking about.
Okay,
so the fastest part is the column that you need is what you will click on. Then you now go to remove columns. Once you click on that drop down arrow, then you will now remove other columns, exactly, other columns. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, because you could have like maybe 50 columns to deal with, and all you need there is just 2 or 3 or even 1. So taking time to press control and be clicking one by one in this age has become, before it wasn't, but in this age has become like, now that's wasting time. So we just click on the one that we need and then we remove other columns, So if we come to path.
Okay, path, go on, please.
Click on path. Yeah, that one. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now right click. So under remove is remove other columns. That one. That's what we need.
So I should click on this now.
Please do. So that does it really quickly for us. Okay. Now we have removed other columns, but we are trying to make this table unique. At the moment, it's not very distinct. We've got King Sunny Ade, like how many times? We got, each of the names appearing too many times. So how do we remove the duplicates? There's a way to do it. Who remembers? Perfect. Thank you. So we just right clicked and we clicked on remove duplicates. All things being equal, this should be, we got 54 rows. Remember that we haven't trimmed this. And this is, so come to the last step. Let's undo that last step. There's something we should do first, which is to trim. Okay, so we click on, right click on it and trim like we trimmed before, sir. So this removes any space that could undo that could spoil the work for us. Now we can remove duplicates. Let's see if we will still have 54 like we did before. You see, now we have 53 rows. Before, when you did it before, we had 54 rows, which means there was one which had an extra space. That happened with I think with the first class that I had, or the second class, and it was Mr. Azim that, pointed our direction to look at that, to observe what's happening, you know. So trim first, and then you can remove duplicates. That way you are very sure that you definitely don't have any repeated value. Okay. Now, for this musicians table, you can rename it. It's because we are looking at CD, CD2. Rename the table. Yeah, you can rename that as well. Why not? Whatever name you want to give it. Yes, there was also something else we did. We gave them IDs. We want them to be unique, so we give them IDs. How do we give ID? Whatever ID we want to give maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, you know. How do we do that here? Who remembers? Let someone tell us, please. Mr. Dami, let's start with you. Do you remember?
Please, someone else, please.
Okay, who can help? Please help.
So what you need is you need to add a column to it. So once you click on add column,
yeah.
So you will now go to index column. There's a drop sign there. Click on it so you can now determine which one you want to choose. Exactly. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. And it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3 all the time. You can custom it to whatever it is you want, you know. At the moment, your column is saying index. Is that the name you want to call it, or you want to rename it as ID, or what do you want to do with it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. There was also something we did. We merged columns. You know, because we want there to be a relationship between CDs and the musician table. At the moment, there's no relationship because, okay, actually there could be in terms of the names. I take that back. There is a common column between the two. You know, we've got musicians, the names, and there is names in CDs as well. It's just that sometimes names are not the best, you know, to use for relationships. Sometimes names are not always very unique. Just in case we've got someone else, you know, who is also bearing that King Sunny Ade, you know, so there would be a kind of I'm looking for the best English to use now, a conflict, you know. So at this point, we will be fine. But talking about larger data sets, you want something as unique as getting an ID, not a name. Somebody who is 2, 3 people who are bearing the same names with maybe a bank or a store, it will be their IDs that really distinguish them, not their names, you know. So just for the sake of showing us how to merge columns now, you know, we want to bring ID into CD because CD's table does not have ID. How do we do that? How do we do that? Okay. Before we start anything, let's click on CD. CD is the major table, so let's do CD. So we are bringing musician table into CDs. Yeah. So
is it here? Match queries?
No, keep going. It's under combined. Yes, where you are now, merge queries is the first one there.
Yeah.
So let's look at click on the down arrow, the drop down arrow under merge queries. Yeah, that one. And you have options. Do you want to just merge them together or merge as new? I'll go for the first one because we don't want too many tables to be forming. Okay, now here we are. Yes, we click on that because we've got the first table. Which table are we merging with it? Is the musician table. there. So what is common between the two? Because something must be common before we can merge things between two. Yeah. So let's click on that for both of them. The musician, and let's look for it on the first one. If you scroll to the right on the first one, I'm sure we'll find it. Path. Yeah, it's named path here, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, the other one, path. Where you have, yeah, you see that the information, you got all the names on that path and all the names on that musician as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why they are common. That's why we are merging on those two. Before the next time, before we bring those two together, we'll remember to call them the same names, so that as we have it as musician here, we'll have it as musician on the other table as well, just for uniformity. But there's good news. It's telling us the selection at the bottom where you have a tick there. It's saying the selection matches 826 of 861 rows from the table. It should be matching all. So it's not finding all of the names, you know. Only 826 out of 861. So there are some that are lost in transit. That's not normal. There's something we haven't done right. But click OK.
Sorry, what does this mean? You use fuzzy matching to
use fuzzy matching to perform the. I have no idea what that is. I have never needed to use it before. But again, that is something we can always research and find out. So we are here now, where you have your header. Let's click on the right of it now. The same column, the same table you have just brought in. There are two arrows. Yeah, that corner there, that's where, yeah, exactly. So what are we trying to bring in? Let's remember, why did we merge these two tables? We wanted to bring in something that was not on CDs. Which
ID.
was it? ID. Okay, so that's the one we'll click. Yeah, we can okay that. And here we go. Now this is, can you see that there's a bit of a problem? The ones that I couldn't find. Can you see the ones that I couldn't find? It's saying no. So why has it not found those? It found them the last time. Why has it not found them now? So there's something that we haven't done right with those two columns, the music column on the musician table and the path column on the CDs table. Let's think. What do we think could have happened? What might have gone wrong?
I'm sure there's a space in between, so we didn't trim properly.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking as well. I think because we trimmed for musician table, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we didn't trim on CDs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe that's the problem. So let's undo what we just done. Yeah, let's undo that merge. That merge is wrong. It's not right. Undo. Yeah, okay, whatever we want to do. We are going to undo those last two steps anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and the merge as well. So let's come back to CDs. We didn't trim this, did we? Yeah, that's a good, yeah. So let's trim this. Okay, so it's trimmed now. What else? The data types are the same. And yeah, good. Okay. Now let's go back and try to redo it. Fingers crossed.
So we should merge again.
We should merge again. We need to get that part right. Okay, now look at, before you okay it, look at what the bottom, the sentence at the bottom. What does it say?
861 over 861.
So now we are right. Thank you so much for pointing out, pointing us in that direction. You see how there's something very that seemed very minor, could really matter a lot to the whole work. Just going back to do the trimming, So it's really, really important. But I'm happy we found the problem. So let's okay that, please, and we should be fine now. Now there's something, you see where it says use original column, uncheck it because it's just going to mess up the name of that yeah, and then we can okay so that it retains the proper name. And now we are fine. It's found everything that it's supposed to find. There's one thing that I didn't mention the last time we did this exercise, and it is that, see, it is like we have just duplicated data, isn't it? We've got musicians table. We've got all the names in musicians table, and we are still having those names in CDs. So it is not necessary anymore to keep those names in CDs because now we have a table that's got it, and we've got their IDs on our CDs table anyway. So the standard practice is for us to remove musicians from this CD table. Do we understand what I just said? Okay, I'll repeat that part. You know how we've got all the names of the musicians now on their own table, which is the musician table. Okay, please click on musician table, Mr. Dami. Yes, that one. Now we've got musicians and we've got the ID on this table. Now let's go back to CDs. Now on CDs, we've got musicians and we have brought in the IDs as well. The essence of bringing in ID is so that we don't need the names to be appearing on this table anymore. Their IDs are representing them already. So to reduce how much load we are giving or putting up on Power BI, our best bet is to remove the column. Yes, remove that and we'll still be fine. That part is really important because if we are making so many tables, new tables from these CDs, let's say we wanted to make a date table as well. So we have the date table already in CDs and we are still making a table for date table. It's like we are packing too much unnecessary load. So anywhere that you have already made a new table out of the original, after your merge, the conventional thing is come and remove all the, if it is names, remove those names from CDs. Let names reside in a names table. Let musicians' names, let them remain under musicians table. So we will now be using ID to identify them when we are referring to CDs table. This way we have made the work a lot more industry standard, than just leaving the name back there. Now, if we are happy with what we have got.
One question, please. So yeah. Now that we have removed the names now, so how do we now identify them with the ID? So do we now, tend to see them if we now close and apply or what? Because now we don't know who is ID 1, 2, 3,
Exactly.
Like that. So
I love that question. I love that question. Let us close and apply. Let's close and apply. Now the information is being brought in. Okay. Now, if we go to, those three wise men at the left, those three icons at the left of where we are at the moment. The last one is your relationship, So Mr. Dami, click on Where we are now is the first one, the report page, the Canva page. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, those ones. So this is where we are. Click on the second one. That will show us the table, the data that we have just brought in form of table. And the last one shows us a relationship. Let's see, you see, immediately we came in, a relationship has been formed. You know, if you bring your cursor onto this relationship that was formed, this one. Okay, we can't see, you expand this, see this table so that we can see everything in it. Click on the see this, click on it. We are trying to expand it. So now come to the bottom of it and draw it down. It will expand. The bottom, come to the bottom. Yes, and just, yeah, that's right. Now we can see all of the columns in it. Now let's put your cursor on here. Let's look at what, you see the ID that we brought in? The ID that we formed on music's table and we brought into CD's table, it is already forming a link between the two tables. You see, because there is now a relationship between the two tables, we can always pick name from names and pick whatever we want to pick from CDs. So we don't need names to still be on CDs when we already have a music table and there is a relationship between the two. So these two tables are sort of interacting. They are working together now. You know, so leaving names here is just like putting unnecessary pressure on Power BI. Thank God our data set is not much anyway.
Okay, you know. So will this still be applicable if we click on table 2, we remove the musician there and leave it on table 1?
Please come again. I didn't get that.
I'm saying that will it still be applicable if we remove the musician from table 2 and leave it in table 1? Because what we did is for us to remove it from table 1 and leave it in table 2.
Yes.
So I'm now asking that if we now, put that as remove it in table 2 and leave it in table 1.
No, it won't be. We won't be working right because we have said this is musician's table. So basic data such as name on a musician, it's like saying customer's table. If we are talking about customer's table, at least the customer's name should be there and the customer's ID should be there, you know. So if all we have to work with is only the CD's table, we don't have the musician's table, then everything gets left in, that's fine. But because we have decided to normalize our data, we're trying to like branch out just to standardize the data even better, you know. So because we have decided to go that route and not just work with just one big table, you know, and it's not always the best thing to work with just one big table. You want different tables that actually came from the initial table so that you can form relationships and you can, slice and dice across different type of data that you are working with. You know, say for instance, somebody who is working in a store like Tesco, you don't want all of the data, all the sales, all the customers, everything to just be in just one table. How many millions of customers data are we looking at? But we want the facts table where the sales reside. But in those sales, where we have the sales, we also want to have at least an ID to represent who bought what, and an employee's ID to represent, okay, this was the employee that served them. But on the employee's data, we've got employee name, we got employee ID. On the customer's data, we got all of that. On the supplier's data, we got their names. But all of these people's IDs must all be shown in the major table, which is the facts table that is showing us whatever transaction happens in that place. You know, beyond just Power BI, working in data generally, that aspect of things is very important. I think maybe just in case we've got people who are looking to work just not about Power BI now, but in data. Maybe next week we have a part of the lesson where we discuss some practices of working with data sets, and how to analyze them, the foundational works that need to go into really getting the best out of the data we are working with, so that we are predicting the right, making the right forecast or right predictions to the businesses that we are representing. I think that's really important, because Power BI is only a tool. Beyond Power BI is the why is all the grammar running away from me today? Beyond just Power BI is the thoughts that must go into how we handle people's data. Yeah. And this aspect of what should be in this table, what should be in that table, if I was working with Excel now, it would still be that same practice that I must apply as somebody who is trying to get information from a data. It's still the same thing I must work with or think like when I'm working with SQL or Python or any of those tools. These are only just tools. Beyond the tools is the actual work, that you do. The tools just bring the excitement to it. But for those of us that are really interested in going into data, we are arranged for us to have a class like that, where we understand what is called facts table, what is called dimension table, what are they? For example, this is our musician table. It's very unique because each row is just about one record. Just one row represents King Sunny Ade. The second row represents Chief Ebenezer Obey. The third row represents just one person. But under CDs, we've got like 10 rows that are representing just King Sunny Ade. And that is why, if you look at these relationships that have been formed, there's a tiny number beside musician table. It says 1. And beside the CDs table, there's a star. This type of relationship is called one-to-many, which means on this table, we only have one unique row for each record. They are not appearing 2 times. That's the meaning of 1. And those kind of tables are normally used just for checking up, for looking up information. Okay, I want to check the record for somebody, that is a lookup table. But where things happened, where transactions took place, that is CDs, and that is why in Tesco's record, their sales data would be one of the facts table, because myself as their customer, only God knows how many times I've gone there, to order. And as many orders that I've placed would be represented in their data as one row each. And it's still the same me, one customer. But where they have their customers' data, I will be appearing there only once with my ID because it's unique, But if these two tables must communicate with each other. That is where having the IDs and all of that coming. These two tables communicate with each other, and that is why they can look into my name and use ID from both tables to see exactly what it is that I've bought. When did I buy them? What sort of customer am I? Should they really be investing more to promote their stuff to me so that I can even come and spend more? Or should they not even bother because I only come there once a year? These are what all this information are used to, just to help the business to make more money and to quickly react to whatever is happening within the market before their competitors get there before them and pass the market share out of their hands. At the end of the day, it all boils down to money, So if we are interested, we can go beyond just Power BI and really do data, data beyond the tools themselves. So that any tool then you find yourself using, the foundations that are surrounding how you are dealing with data. Do we still have time?
Auntie, before you go, yeah,
Yes.
I'm not sure if you answered the question in that, but well, let me just ask my own question. But I'm not too sure if you answered the question that the brother that just asked the question, or maybe I'm not getting it. Like, for example, let's say I'm working, like now we've related the musician and the CD with ID and all that, and I'm a layman, I don't know anything, I just come. And I'm just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What will I do that will make me to know that, okay, oh, this ID, I mean, what command do I need to give on Power BI? What do I need to do?
Okay, very quickly.
That, okay, number 1 is King Sunny Ade.
Yes.
And number 2, and I don't know it before.
Yes.
I'm just saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know who is 1, who is 10, who is this, yeah.
Okay, so you are right. We haven't gotten to that. Let's quickly do that within the few minutes remaining. If we come back to the report page, this is where it all comes together. Yeah, come on to the Canva. Okay, so now let's pick maybe the first, pick the first chart, visualization chart there, or the second one. Whichever one you, yes, let's pick that, any one of them. Okay, now let's add data to them. If you come to see this, under your on your right where you have your information.
Okay.
I'll show us more of this next week. Not like that. Click on the arrow. Yeah, click on that. Yeah, that one, so that you can see everything. Now we are looking for ID, for example. Click on ID. Okay, and then come on the second table where we have names, musician table. Now open that up as well, down below. Yeah, and click on musicians. Okay, what have we got that's happening? ID. Okay, then click on sales. Click on sales. That's not the way I want it to be represented. I want okay, change it to table. I want where we have King Sunny Ade and then all the IDs. Yeah, so yeah, remove all of those and click on table. Table is second to the last on that visuals. Come on to the visualization. No, not there, where we were before. Okay, so second on that, yeah, come down where you have all the visuals. There's an icon below. Keep coming down, then to to the top a bit. The one above that's table. Yes, click on that, please. Okay, okay, and now come to musicians table. The name, and then come to sales. Okay, then form another table. So click outside of this box inside the Canva. Okay, then let's click on another table. Okay, bring the table a bit up. Yeah, okay. So now let's use ID rather than name. ID from see this table now. Yes.
I don't know what this is.
Use those 3 dots to remove it. Yeah. Okay. Now, but you need to click back on your, because it's going to form it somewhere else. Click back on your visual. Yeah. So click on this visual so that it knows that's where you want it. So ID from, let's choose ID from there. And then sales. Okay. So expand this table, please. click on it to form the square around the table, and then use the corners that there to just drag it down, just to expand it. Okay, I'm looking for a way where we can see the ID and the name together. Okay, where you are at the moment, click on the name from musician. Although it's not in the right order, but on the box, musician, bottom.
Okay.
Bottom.
Musician.
Okay. So such that however you want to visualize this, if having only IDs is confusing, I don't know who is who, what is what. Despite the fact that the names are not on CDs, they are on musicians, but there's relationship between the two tables. They are communicating, yeah? Because they are communicating, I can always pick anything I want from this table and anything I want from the other table, despite the fact that they are not residing together. Yes, on CDs, I've got only IDs, and that can be confusing, okay? So I don't want to use IDs to represent what I want to show. I want name. I just need to come to musicians table and pick the name and not use the ID, you know? Meanwhile, IDs are also important for maybe you want to count how many people, came to the store. You can still use the IDs to do the counts. Do you understand? So we don't necessarily need to depend wholly on IDs, but those IDs are the best they are for forming unique relationships. Does that sort of erase our a little bit?
Because basically I was thinking that yes, except if we close and apply, that's when we can quickly see the relationship.
That's right. That's right. This is the only place that relationships are seen. Okay. And this is what they call exploring your data now. All these graphs, charts, and stuff. One can just play around it and say, okay, I want to even see the distribution of all these sales stuff. What shape are they forming with all these charts? You can play around it, look at it, and see what you find out.
Yes, because once you see the Sunny Ade now, it has sum up all the series for King Sunny Ade. Likewise for all other musicians too.
That's correct.
And you can also see the total sales, which was not done, during our data clean and all that.
Yes, it's because we have been spending more time on query editor, where we have been transforming. Most of our lessons have been our classes have been on transforming data, and we are spending so much time on that because that is the foundation of it. If you can get the transformation right, just to come here and drag and those ones are the sweet part of the job. It's easy. But when the foundation is not good, which is how you clean the data, how you make it look, or how you make Power BI see it, then you might end up with a lot of wrong results, and you might not even know that you are about to present some wrong information to the business. So how to form good relationships and how to transform data, those are the real deal in Power BI, because they know anybody can just come and drag this and drag that, and this part is all the beautiful creative part that you will do some dashboards. Even you will sit down and think, I have really tried though, but it's not, the beauty of it is not as important as the truth behind the information we are presenting. I hope that most of us will go back and do more work until you get your hand on it and practice and practice and practice. Then it won't work. In the next class, I'm thinking we should proceed to do more than because most of the things we have done so far have been repetitive, and I don't mind the repetition. We have to repeat something so that they stay with us. That's part of learning, and that is why I would implore us, those of us that even practice, to still go back and repeat it so that it becomes second nature, such that next week we'll move on to newer newer size to it, and we'll work with, if not this data anymore, I'm thinking of us bringing some real store data where we can look at the average of this, what happened to that product, which country, did what, So I will put those, I'll actually put a sample of it so that we can practice with that against the next class. And then we'll keep growing from there. Any question?
Sorry, just to cut. Sorry to cut you. If you can do what you first said as well, like in case some of us want to go into data and all that.
Yeah.
Maybe like something that would look like kind of like a discipline and all those kind of things that you need to incorporate while dealing with data and all that. So that would be good as well.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. We'll see how we work it all out together, and God would help us. Thank you. Thanks to everyone. Any question before we call it a day?
No question. Thank you very much. I think, well, the plan you have, I think that's a good one.